Hey guys, how's it going? It's Janie over at Janie Sweets, and in this episode I'm coming at you with a Game of Thrones cake tutorial. I am obsessed with Game of Thrones, and I think everyone else in the world is as well. I mean, oh my gosh, this show is amazing. I made this particular tutorial in collaboration with Rosie over at Rosie's Dessert Spot, so definitely check out her tutorial. Once you're done with this, I am going to link it in the description box for you guys below. So let's get started with the cake. I'm going to make my decorations ahead of time because I wanted to completely dry before I add it to my cake. So right now I'm making my dragon, and I'm going to more show you than tell you what I'm doing because I think you can kind of see where I'm going with it. So create the scales of your dragon using a sharp tool and then create his arms. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Game of Thrones dragons do not have arms, I know, but when I originally made this cake, I actually hadn't even seen an episode yet, and it was well into season 6, so I don't know. I just was really late on the bandwagon, so forgive my my ignorance, if you will, of dragon anatomy. So just make the arms, or you can omit the arms if you want to go for a more realistic dragon, and then create his face by using a ball tool to make the nose and also the eyes, and then make his little mohawk thing going on, and then his mouth. Now the more time you spend on the face, the more realistic the dragon is going to look. I actually spent about half an hour on his face, like creating the little lines and the little divots, and then I wasn't happy with this and I wanted this to be more pronounced. So just fuss around with it and make him look however you want him to look. Then once he's all complete, I am going to smoke him out a little bit with a gunmetal colored luster dust, and I'm using a dry paintbrush to apply it onto his body. Now once that was done, I started working on the wings. Now the wings gave me so much trouble, but the best way I found was to make two semicircles that were roughly the same size, and then using a circle cutter, I'm going to cut out the, I guess the indentations of the wings. I don't know how you would call that. Try your best to make it symmetrical, but it doesn't have to be completely symmetrical. It's going to be folded and no one will know. So create the boning by using a tiny sausage or a thin sausage of fondant glued onto the wings with some water, and then smoke it out with that same gunmetal colored luster dust. I've concentrated the color around the perimeter and then just kind of dragged it onto the middle, and then attach it to your dragon using gum glue. For the throne, I found that the best way was to cover a piece of cardboard with just gray fondant, and then a piece of Rice Krispie treat with gray fondant. You could also use a piece of aluminum foil, but I found that the Rice Krispie had a little bit more weight to it. That's why I used that. Then I'm going to attach them together and then cover the arms with a long sausage. So just use some gum glue to attach the armrest to the throne. Now if it's not perfect and there are some lumps and bumps, don't worry about it because it's going to be completely covered from head to toe with swords, so don't worry about making it seamless and lump free. So attach your feet to your throne and then start working on your swords. And now to make the swords, there's no right or wrong way, but what I found was the easiest way to do it is to make some rectangles, and then using the back of a petal cutter, just make some points at the end, and then just attach it to the cake with some gum glue. Or not the cake, the chair with some gum glue. Now, I wasn't going for realism, but there are definitely some awesome tutorials on YouTube on how to make the chair or the throne look really realistic. So check them out if you would like. I'll link them below for you. So to create the swords that have the handle, I'm going to do the same exact thing, just cut out a rectangle and then point out the end. Cut it to size, and then this time I'm going to roll out a little sausage fondant and then attach it with some gum glue at the end. And then I have a rectangle of sausage here that I'm going to glue vertically, and then a little ball of fondant at the end of it. And I'm going to attach those to the cake, I keep saying the cake, to the throne in the exact same way. Then I'm using some black Wilton color mist. That's just a canned food color. And I'm just going to spray that all over the chair, and then using some gold and silver and gunmetal luster dust mixed together, I'm going to cover the throne completely with a dry paintbrush. And when you're done, the throne should look something like this. Like I said, it's not an exact replica, but it serves the purpose. Then put your stuff to dry completely, at least for 48 hours, and then start working on your cake. Right here I'm using LMF fondant, which is a Liz Merrick fondant. It's a marshmallow homemade fondant. It's awesome because it stretches out really, really thin and it doesn't rip. But what I find is that when I'm working with it in the summer, it tends to stick really badly and sweat like crazy. So I'm using a whole bunch of cornstarch to apply it to the cake, and I'm also using some gloves so that my hands do not, like the warmth from my hands do not melt it. So just go ahead and cover your cake completely, and then use a pizza wheel when you're done to cut out all the excess. Then once you're done, use your fondant smoother and some acetate sheet to smooth out your edges. Afterwards, put that aside and work on your 8-inch tier, and do it in the same manner. I kind of messed up the back, but I'll cover it up, that's alright. Then I'm going to work on the dragon scale. So right now I have a piece of fondant that I'm going to roughen up with some aluminum foil, and then I have an oval cutter. I'm going to cut out like a bajillion pieces, and I'm going to attach them onto my cake using some water. I'm going to paint that onto my cake with a paintbrush. Every scale that you saw me do, I've cut in half so that I can place them in a line on the cake, and just go ahead and glue them like so. I've cut them out in different colors and different shades. So I have a dark gray, a dark brown, a light brown, a beige color. So just kind of put them haphazardly all over the cake. Once you're happy with the way your scales look, put that aside, and I'm going to work on the little scroll. So using a edible marker, I'm going to write Happy Name Day Alejandro. And then I'm just going to color the edges a little bit so it stands out from the cake. I let it dry for about half an hour before placing it onto the cake so that the all those little rips that I made would stay, and then glued it onto my cake. Then I'm going to dowel my bottom tier with some flat straws, and then I'll add in my top tier. Once that's done, I'm going to place some straws at the top as well so that my decorations do not sink into the cake once the cake starts getting warmer. Okay, now once I've placed my decorations onto the cake, I realized that I did it sideways, like you'll be able to see, and it wasn't facing forward. I'm sorry, but I just went ahead and fixed that off camera and made it face the same direction that the Happy Name Day scroll was. And then I have sprayed the entire cake, or airbrushed the entire cake with just some water so that the powder would come off and the color would show through. So there you go, you guys. This is how I made my Game of Thrones cake. I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, definitely give it a thumbs up, like and share with all your friends. You can find me on Instagram as well as on Facebook. I am at Janie Sweets on all my socials. You can check out my last video if you click on this annotation right over there. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so that you do not miss any other tutorials that I'll be posting. And yeah, this is it for this week's tutorial. Definitely go check out Rosie's. I will link it again in the description box for you. Alrighty guys, love you. Talk to you next time.